if you work with diverse caseloads of children who you're servicing back to back, so you're working with a child with autism, a child with developmental language disorder, a child with articulation impairment, a child with fluency impairment, and you're working with these children back to back, and you want to provide them with an educationally rich, engaging activity that treats the whole child, that produces optimal gains. Today's episode is for you. I am going to share with you my 5-step routine that is going to be, you can use to with every child on your caseload. If you are like me and you have a diverse group of children and you're seeing them back to back and you want to give them top shelf therapy. So in the past, when I worked with diverse groups of children, I would have 10 different activities behind me that I'd be pulling from. It was almost like I was delivering fast food. And what I've done is I've turned that upside down, and I'm going to share this with you today in using the universal design for learning principles, and using those principles, which we know that every single child on your caseload is going to benefit from, in creating educationally rich activities. I started early teaching preschool, and I was trained by the best, Dr. Tina Brown, a shout out to you. And she would look at any activity I developed, and she would say, is this an empty activity? Meaning empty is it only accomplishes a couple of goals. I was working with children who were in Head Start, and she wanted me to create educationally rich activities that would treat the whole child, that would produce optimal gains with the minimal amount of time that I had available. This pragmatic mindset in which you try to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to intervention is what you're going to see today. So we're going to look at that activity, and I'm going to use that as an example to pull you through. These are the 5 steps. This is a 5-step routine that I use over and over and over again with every kiddo on my caseload. I'm going to explain why I use this routine. Do I sometimes modify this routine to different kiddos? I do, and that's okay. But as a general rule, this is what I give to every child I work with. And what I do is I change the target. And I'm going to talk about the target in the beginning. If the child's working on speech, we have a speech target. If the child's working on language, we have a language target. If the child's working on fluency, we're going to do the language target at a nice fluent pace with support. If the child's working with AAC, we're going to use AAC. I typically use a robust high-tech communication device, and I always follow that up with a look at sentence strip, which the children like. It's not that they have to do it. They enjoy reading the look at sentence strip and learning all of these new novel verbs. Then after that, we get right into the activity. So the only thing that's changing with this wonderful activity that I'm going to show you, which is educationally rich, that treats the whole child, is the only thing that's changing is the target. And I'm going to show you how I change the target to meet every child's needs on my caseload. So let's roll up our sleeves and dive right in. These are my favorite sorts of podcasts because I am a very pragmatic, roll up your sleeves, hands-on learner. I think that comes with having ADHD. I learn by doing. So my professors, I do have wonderful professors at University of Florida. As I'm completing my doctoral research right now, I'm in the dissertation phase, and I've told you about that. It's coming. We have to get this done because we have funding that we need to use up, but you're going to hear more about that very, very soon. I want you involved in this wonderful AAC research. That's going to come real soon. But let's dive back into this episode. So for this episode, I'm going to tell you what inspired it. It was actually one of my SIS members in a really nice email that she sent a few days ago. So I received this email, and I always follow my heart and mind on what I'm going to talk about every week. It doesn't come from what's going to give me the most views, what's going to get me the most likes. You might see that if you follow me. I don't go by that. I don't go by popularity contests. I go by my heart and my mind and the children I service and the feedback I receive from all over the world. I have SIS members from all over the world and from their back porches the issues they bring to the table, the questions they bring, the feedback they give me. And I also have the feedback from my own back porch and working in my own garden with my children. So it was really nice when I read this email from the SIS member this week, because this is how it's worked for me, what I'm going to share with you. This is what my back porch was like, and how the SIS activities have been a total game changer for me. And I'm going to show you how I do them. You don't need to become a SIS member. You can go and do this on your own back porch and do it your own way. But I'm going to share with you what I do, because we are in this together. So I received this email, and I'm just going to read portions of it to save time. Okay. So it says, I am a contractor and took a full-time position this year. Essentially, I was overwhelmed with my caseload and all of the different paths, directions you can go as a therapist. I just wanted to throw in the towel because I couldn't figure out how to organize, categorize, and assimilate everything I knew and apply it into therapy. You have simplified the mission by sticking to core, relevant, research-based strategies that I can manage to plan for and that allow for connection and therapy to flourish. And that's what I always say. When you have all your materials ready, when it's an educationally rich, engaging, fun activity, that allows you to simply be present. And add to that, if you are using the evidence-based strategies we talked about last week, DTTC, with complex treatment targets, the sky's the limit. I went from fast food, giving this is your activity, this is your activity, this is your activity, and doing 10 different activities that I literally would have behind me and my reach outside of the child's view, and I would pull it out one after the next because I'm working with children back to back. So it was just very low level, and that, as my old mentor would say, these are empty activities. They accomplish a single goal. You're wasting your time. If you're working out, because I'm also a certified fitness trainer, it would be almost like I would do calf raises where I'd say, okay, go up on your toes. Now, I would not create system-wide change for you and your body or your mind because I'm working one small muscle group, okay? We got to stop thinking that way. We need to start thinking about treating a whole child instead of treating a mouth. And I'm going to show you what that looks like by having very educationally rich activities that hit multiple domains. And they're also highly engaging and task-oriented and use movement as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to go through the 5-step process of what you do if you're like me and you're looking at a caseload of 50 preschoolers and you have children with significant developmental delays, you have children with SXI, you have children with autism, you have children with speech, language impairments, fluency impairments. What are you going to do? I'm going to show you right now. So the first thing we always do is step 1 is the treatment target. Now I have different levels of the treatment target so I can meet children where they are. And then with my scaffolding, they're able to do this. So I have, for instance, in language, the most basic level would be the sentence strip, which simply says, look at. I'm going to have whatever activity we're doing. I'm going to show you the activity this week. It's going to be based on the book There Wasn't a Lady Who Swallowed a Clover, because next week we're going to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day. So we have There Wasn't a Lady That Swallowed a Clover. I'm going to do a movement activity based on this book. Now, you don't need the book if you're a SIS member, because I put a line that you can sing for each of the books, which is really a lot of fun. But if you have the book, that's great. It's extra. It's icing on the cake. Okay. So then I'll go ahead and put Clover at the end of the look at sentence strip. We use our augmentative communication device. They request reading the book, for instance. And then after that, we'll go into it and we'll say, look at the clover. Now, what I've told you before, what's really powerful about look at, there's 2 things. One is the messages. They're not asking for joy. They're not asking for an object. They're asking for attention. They're telling you, look at this. Language is very powerful. As William Labov said, it is a container of thought. When I work on look at instead of I want, what happens is when the children with autism begin talking, they're pointing and they're saying, look at the grass, look at the car, look at the door, and they are commenting. Commenting is worth so much more than requesting. Commenting is the golden apple. When we're seeing commenting early on, these children have a better prognosis throughout school age and beyond with their communication development. So commenting is gold, and simply by changing your sentence strip from I want to look at, you're going to see a difference as the children develop speech. Why do I use our robust device and then I go to the look at sentence strip? Because the look at becomes automatic. As we talked about last week, we shoveled a path, we created the pathway, and all of these different words flow out. So these children who could not talk can suddenly say, because starting is the hardest part, you're initiating the complex motor movement, they can suddenly say, look at the clover, look at the fiddle, look at the pot, look at the coins, look at the bird, all of these different characters in the story. These words are flowing out because we have the path for the words to flow out in. And we've initiated speech, which is the most challenging part, starting the complex movement. This is going to be simple language, is the look at, but then you have a complex sentence. So the complex sentence, they jump up to after they can do look at, and then first you pick a sticker and then you put it on the paper, right? Then we move to another sentence where you have another clause added. Then we move to a paragraph. So basically you move to a 3-sentence, and then you move to the 4-sentence paragraph in language, and you end with a 5-sentence paragraph in language. So what happens is a narrative. By the end of it, you have a language where you say, how do you play the game? And they're saying first, next, then, lastly, because, and they're playing out all the steps in the game. As we talked before, our goal is automaticity with these tier 2 billion-dollar words. This is the scaffold, this is the ladder in which you can organize any idea. This is kind of the hamburger you learn when writing an essay, where you're like, okay, this is how we started. We tell them what we're going to say, and then we give the 3 points, and then we say what we've said in the summary. That's the hamburger. This is kind of the hamburger of how we tell stories. That's what it provides, this automatic structure, so stories can fluently develop. This is where we start. We kind of memorize these scaffolds. Later on, we generalize. So that is what we do for someone with language. When we come with someone with speech, then after that, it turns into a complex sentence. Then after that, it turns into a 3-level sentence paragraph. Now, in our research, we've shown the paragraph gets much greater results than the sentence. Do I mix them up? Do I say, okay, the child's interest level is high, I'm going to have them say a paragraph, and then maybe I see a little bit of waning interest level, I'm going to read the room, and I'm going to say, okay, this time we're going to do a sentence. It still contains those complex 3-element clusters, those complex S-blends that are going to give you maximum gains in minimal amount of time. But that's how we work it. We're saying the target. So if it's speech, it can be a speech sentence. It can be a sentence. It can go down to an entire narrative story. Then after we get that narrative story memorized, then we're telling stories in general. How do we do this? And the children are coming up with their own novel verbs, their own novel nouns to describe, and they're organizing the ideas themselves, and they're using those scaffolds first, next, then lastly, because to organize their ideas in a cohesive manner. That is a golden apple. Children who can tell stories, because our children have stories to tell. So the first step is always the child saying the target. Now, when the child is saying the target, I clear off the table. I want all of their cognitive load. I want everything on that complex target. And as we mentioned in the last episode, we are multimodally cueing it. We are providing a level of support that guarantees 80% accuracy. Now we're moving to step 2. Step 2 is they're going to, if we have a book, this is optional, we're going to read that page in the book. So the first page in the book where the there was an old lady who swallowed a clover, we'd say, there was an old lady who swallowed a clover, and we just read that one page in the book. And then we're going to go and find the clover from our stickers. So what I do is I have a clipboard and I have Velcro laminated on it, soft Velcro, and I put these stickers I cut up from the SIS membership. And what you can do to make it a language comprehension type of task is you can give a function, feature, class clue for them to find it. So you can say, I'm looking at something that grows from the ground and it's green. And you can even add a literacy clue and it rhymes with rover, but it's not a rover, it's a, and then they'll pick the clover. And then the next step, step 3, is they're going to put it on the paper. So what I mean by that is here, I have the old lady. We're going to go ahead and put the clover, because she swallowed it, into her stomach. We're acting out the story here. So I put hard Velcro on the back of this, and I will go ahead and put it on, I have cinder block walls at my school that I work with, and I'll do a thick, soft Velcro piece there. So I'll just plop it on there because I need to plop it on there because if I work with the child on the home visit that has SSI, I have to be able to tear it off. When I'm doing the classroom in the large group, I have to be able to tear it off to put it on a felt board. If I'm doing a small group, I'm going to tear it off to put it on a felt board. And then I come back, I have to tear it off, put it back on my Velcro, on my big piece of Velcro that's on a magnet board or that's on the wall. So I have to be able to travel because it's back to back to back. And if you're like me, a speech language pathologist, and somehow you teleport from one area to the next because you're always doing therapy back to back, that's what we do. We teleport. So as we teleport, this needs to be able to teleport with us. In the past, I used to put duct tape to duct tape it on the wall. So now I just put 3 hardcore Velcro coins on it, and I stick it wherever I go. And I have a little portable felt board that some of our SIS members like to put this in a folder and travel it in a folder, and some of them like to put it on a clipboard. And the next thing they're going to do is they're going to get to stick it on. So we have the clover. And I usually have an obstacle course. You can see that on Instagram on Mondays. I post what my obstacle course is if you want to see what I'm doing on my back porch. And then they go and stick it on. This is a task-oriented movement activity. What they're doing is feeding the puppet. What I also do is I'll actually have a real old woman puppet and they get to feed it there and I'll say, need salt and pepper, you know what I mean? So then they go and they take the sticker and stick it on. What we're doing here is called universal design for learning principles. We're not just learning with our eyes or with our ears, we're learning with all of our modalities. It's multisensory in nature. The children see the printed word, they see the picture. You have the 3-dimensional puppet eating the clover, eating it out. Then you have it, then they're using it with their body. They're traveling, they're going and they're feeding the old lady and they're giving them a clover. So the next step is always going to be after putting the sticker on the paper, they're going to go back and they're going to check their checklist. So with that, I like to use a short dry erase skinny marker so I can get that pincer grasp. Broken crayons are not as fun as the short dry erase pencil marker. So with that, and I get these from Amazon. I have these plastic covers. I'll tell them the speech, the OT kind of verbiage. I'll say around and stop so they can circle on their checklist what items that the lady ate. And what we say is this is a doctor's mission. Our mission is to find all the non-food objects that she ate so we can get them out of her stomach so she doesn't get sick. So that's why it's a task-oriented movement activity. We're not just moving for the sake of moving. We're not doing jumping jacks. We're not jumping around for hopping or anything just to hop. It's to improve executive function. We have a problem. We're making a plan. We're taking action and we're taking it to completion. So we're improving executive function while we're treating the whole child, while we're improving speech, while we're improving language, while we're improving literacy. So that's what makes it really special. As I talked about before, this is not an empty activity where I say, oh, okay, so you're the child that's working on language. This child that's working on language is going to tell a story. They're going to improve narratives. And by doing so, you're going to get greater gains because you're creating system-wide change within the child's linguistic systems. We're not doing calf phrases. Instead, we're doing full body sun salutations. We're working everything all at once and making the most out of the limited time we have and treating the whole child and not treating the mouth. So that is how the process goes. So once again, the 5-step process is first we say the treatment target. Second step, which is optional, you don't need the book. You read that 1 page out of the book. Third step after that is we pick the sticker. I like to give function, feature, class cues when it comes to stickers, or I like to put the stickers in a sensory bin to make it even more enjoyable, or a feely box to pull it out. Then the step after that is to put it on the paper. When they're putting it on the paper, we go through an obstacle course. You don't need to go through an obstacle course. You could have the child sitting at the desk. I have them right there and they just pick it up and put it on. And then over time, I'll have them travel 3 to 5 feet. And then I'll have them travel 5 feet. Then I'll have them travel across the room. Then I'll have them to go across an obstacle course, a balance beam or river rocks. I fade in the challenges so I never ever have to touch the child. So children they know more than anyone with a million letters behind their name that they've earned from a college on how their body works and what they're capable of doing and how they can most efficiently do it. They are going to learn only through experience and us keeping our hands off of the children. If you have your hand on the child, you are doing the motor planning, motor programming, execution for the child. The child is passively along for the ride. I've learned my lesson the hard way. I'm working with a child when they're 2. Keep your hands off of the children. Put your hands on the environment. Put your hands on the setting and setting it up in a manner that would be challenging for the child. If you've ever seen a physical therapist at work or a personal trainer, you will see they create one educationally rich activity, and then they change the activity. They change the weight of the dumbbells. They change the reps. They change those factors to make it simpler or more complex to meet each client at their challenge point. That is what you're doing when you're manipulating the environment and keeping your hands off of them. It's going to be amazing when you see the child go through the obstacle course, how every single time they do it better, because they're getting the feedback from the environment and they're changing what they're doing. They're DSDing just like we do. So that is the 5-step routine. Why is it so effective beyond the fact that you are treating multiple domains? You are treating the whole child, you're improving their speech, you're improving their language, you're improving their literacy, you're improving their executive function, you're improving their motor skills, you're improving everything all at once. You're even improving their writing skills, right? As they check the checklist, their fine motor there. Well, the reason it's really, really effective is that it's predictable. It's a predictable routine. And when that offers our children is safety and security, they know what the expectations are. This makes them feel safe and secure so they're not operating from an amygdala, fight, flight, freeze brain, which so many of our kiddos are. So many of our children have sensory issues today, which is already telling them you are not safe in this environment. Many of our children have so many challenges with anxiety, not just children with autism, that when they come to you and that they know there's that predictable routine, even though the theme is always changing, the words are always changing, all of that is changing, they know what the expectations are. So they're able to exhale. And they're able to take that cognitive load and not focus on where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing? What are the expectations here? They're able to focus on the complex speech, language, literacy, AAC targets. They're able to focus there and they're able, just like you're able, to be present. When the child is able to be present and you're able to be present, that is when the magic happens. That's the secret. So it makes me so happy to share these 5 steps with you that I predictably follow. Now I'm going to tell you, sometimes I make adjustments based on the individual child. So I have a child, for instance, where they need a little bit more structure early on. Like I said, so they're not doing the obstacle course. We are seated in the chair right next to the wall where it's hanging from the wall, and they're picking up and they're acting it out that way. We will get there. I need to meet the children where they are. Do I have a child, for instance, that when they see a marker and drawing, they don't like fine motor? That is like, no, don't like that. That is okay. I am going to still do that step lastly, but that's what we're going to do at the end of our therapy session. We're going to say, okay, let's check and see what we did. And then we're going to circle all of them because I lose that positive momentum if I bring out the fine motor and I integrate it within step 5 within the routine, because fine motor is something they do not like. They've had a bad experience somewhere along the line with writing. So I save it for the end and we just have a lot of fun with it. Okay, round this up, round it up. Wow, look at all the work you did. And then I always end every session. It's kind of like the song bingo, where we sing the song. So if the child's name is John, we'll say, there was a boy who worked so hard and John was his name. And then we write out his name together. John, 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 and John was his name. And they like to have a heart written after their name. So, and I tell them the heart means I'm so proud of you. So that is how I end every single session. So when I hear my kiddos spell their name for the first time, I'm like, how do you spell your name? They'll be like, a lot of times I'll be J-O and they'll sing it to me, and I'll let them spell it, and they sing the word. So that's how they start. And we're talking about that before, and how we're taking advantage of that Gestalt way of learning, in which they're learning in a multimodal manner, in which you're attaching it to songs, just like we learned our ABCs, we learned to count, and that's how they'll say it first. John, John, and then we'll write the name, or I'll write the name as they sing it, and later on they'll say John. So it's really a lot of fun. So today, I hope that you find this very useful and you're able to use this on your back porch, just like my sis member was this week, just like I have been able to. And trust me, you are going to see great gains. You're going to be one and done. So you have your activity, you set it up. You're done for the week. So I like to do 2 activities in the SIS membership. I showed you one, but in the SIS membership, I do 2 activities every week. I have ADHD, so I like variety. And we have 2 activities every week. It takes me a solid hour to set them up. So I spend an hour front loading before the week, in which I laminate the signs I put on them, laminate the stickers, and I put my soft and hard Velcro coins on them. There's the maximum number is usually 8. One of them I have about 8, and one of them I have about 6 different activities. So one is simpler than the other. And then after that, I put them up on the wall. And then I'll like slide in my little checklist that I'm gonna use in my cover, and I'll get everything ready, and I'll make a little activity obstacle course. So it takes less than an hour of prep time, but that's what I'm gonna do Monday through Friday with pretty much every single child on my caseload. And then I'll make little modifications, and the children find it really engaging, really fun. They love coming to speech therapy, even though my speech therapy is quite challenging. They still love it. The activities are very enjoyable, and they're very engaging, and they're based on multimodal learning. So if you're not good, if you don't have good auditory processing, that's okay, because there's a lot of visual support. If you don't have very good visual support, that's okay, because we're singing and there's the auditory support. We're using slowed speech, and we're using the cueing and moving our body. If you're a kinesthetic learner, that's okay, because everything is hands-on. So everyone is learning through their strength in terms of modality. And we know from the research that when you go multimodal, the children are going to learn a lot more quickly, and they're going to remember what they learned. You're going to see it's good for every single child on your caseload. And what we're also doing is improving executive function. And the research indicates that children with communication impairments, they are significantly more likely to have challenges with executive function. So what do we want to do in that case? We want to help every single child improve executive function. And that's what these movement activities are about. They're task-oriented movement activities. It's not movement for the sake of movement. It's movement to achieve a goal. And it's a movement where you're achieving a goal and you're taking it to completion. So you can probably think of children who they can't identify problems. They don't know how to make a plan. They don't know how to take action. They don't know how to take it to completion. That's what we're doing in this activity. It's improving that. They're doing it on a repeated basis. They're improving executive function. They're doing multiple step complex movements to achieve a goal. So I want you to do what you do best, which is roll up your sleeves and make the world a better place, one child at a time. I hope to see you in the SIS membership. Check it out. It's kellyvest.com/SIS, SIS. So when you join, if you decide to just join for a month, you receive the entire treatment target library, and then you can decide, I want to unsubscribe. Or you can say, oh, I really like this. I want to transfer to the annual. And then you would just email me and say, let's transfer to the annual membership. And if you do that, the neat thing is, when you email me, you get that $47 discount on the annual membership. So that is a really good deal. It's only $250 for the annual. You get to keep all your treatment targets. You move into the annual. You're like, this really works. My children love this. I love this. This is working for me. And then you just stick with me for the year. So it's a win-win. If you decide to just stay for a month, what happens is you get a wonderful treatment target library that is researched, very powerful in both speech and in language. All levels that you need, you get that. And that's worth more than $47. And if you decide to stay, you get that $47 discount, which is fabulous. And you tell me, and then you stay for the year. Thank you so much for being at the drawing board with me.